And now an I-team investigation. A vicious killer is trying to win release from prison, but parole officials say he is not fit for freedom. In fact, investigators now fear the man is more dangerous than ever. The I-team's Joe Collum is here now with a killer's profile. Joe?
Well, Corianne, this is a story we've been following for 6 years now. A former school teacher who raped and murdered a neighborhood child. It's always been seen as a crime that was isolated, but now a legendary FBI profiler is saying if the killer had not been caught when he was, he might have become one of the most notorious murderers of our time. It was a quiet suburban street in Hillsdale, New Jersey, but inside the house on the corner, a monster lurked. Joseph McGowan, high school chemistry teacher, but social misfit, filled with self-hate, contemplating suicide, then the most important moment of his life. 26 years later, this is how he describes it.
The doorbell rings, I open it up, and the first thought is, can you kill that?
That was 7-year-old Girl Scout Joan D'Alessandro, who lived 3 houses away. She'd come to sell cookies.
And I just simply surrendered to that built-up anger that had been sitting there for years and growing for years, and said, the controls.
McGowan dragged Joan into his basement, where he raped, then brutally murdered her. A green ribbon still marks the spot where Joan's body was discovered several days later here in the woods of Rockland County, New York. McGowan was eventually arrested, confessed, and was sent away to prison for life. But for the past 6 years, he's been fighting to win parole. Yet the harder he's fought, the clearer it's becoming just what a monster McGowan really is.
I believe had McGowan not been identified, he would have gone out and killed again.
John Douglas is the legendary FBI profiler of serial killers. The film Silence of the Lambs was based on his work. Now a senior analyst with APB News, the internet crime site, Douglas has interrogated notorious killers like Charles Manson, David Berkowitz, and John Wayne Gacy. He believes McGowan is as dangerous as any of them.
McGowan would have been, in my opinion, would have been a serial killer, and anytime the stressors in his life became intolerable, he would go out on a hunt looking for victims.
Last year, Douglas interviewed McGowan for the New Jersey Parole Commission. He spent 5 hours with the now 53-year-old killer. Douglas says when McGowan described Joan's murder, it was like he was reliving a fantasy.
What was amazing, the room was freezing. This jail cell that we were in, his chest is shaking from the cold, but he's perspiring profusely, and sweat is pouring off him, and his shirt is soaking wet.
Douglas says McGowan told him he inherited money from his mother's estate, but moved it out of New Jersey to keep it from Joan's family.
No doubt about it that he did it, and what's nauseating to me is that he has not a shred of remorse. I mean, he couldn't even fake it.
I would fear for society if he ever got out. I really would. I mean, I would hide.
Parole Commission Chairman Andy Consovoy says McGowan's lack of remorse and evidence he's a potential serial killer should be enough to keep McGowan locked up.
He's basically the same person, and that's why we don't want to release him.
Joan's Law is now the law of the state of New Jersey.
State and federal laws were enacted last year in Joan's name, which prohibit parole to those who rape and kill a child. But ironically, Joan's Law will not keep Joan's killer behind bars. Rosemary D'Alessandro fears the courts could someday soon free the monster who killed her daughter.
I don't have hate for him, but I certainly will never, never, never want to see him out.
Joseph McGowan has been denied parole twice, but is now asking the courts to overrule the parole board, claiming he's been a model prisoner for 26 years and poses no risk to society. But authorities believe the same rage that led McGowan to kill Joan D'Alessandro still simmers inside him, making him likely to kill again if he's freed. Ernie, Corianne.
Thank you, Joe, for that special report.